welcome to another episode of Healthy Cook Up with Dr. Soski. That's me, Marissa Soski. I'm a naturopathic doctor who practices in Portland, Oregon, and also all throughout California. And welcome to my cooking show again. So we're back this week with another summer recipe. Today I thought I'd decide to show you something actually very quick and easy, so this video won't be very long. And intentionally, because I chose to make something that's super quick to prepare, very low carb for anyone who's worried about that, and is very nice for the summer because you don't have to cook anything. It's literally a no-cook meal and is very easy to throw together in a pinch. So before I jump into that, I just want to put a plug. So today's video is dedicated, and I'll be raising money for the D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. They're a organization based out of Los Angeles, California, and but they are also, you don't have to be in Los Angeles to utilize their services. They help and reach low-income folks and people who don't have access to mental health care, and they provide a resource for those people. And then, but it's also a resource for anybody. I know right now, going through COVID, and social and physical distancing, it's bringing up a lot of mental health issues for a lot of people who had already had mental health issues. It's been exacerbated. People are developing mental health issues. And this is really an awesome organization to support in times like these because they are helping support those in need of those services, which is just increasing more and more every day. So if you have it in your heart, shout out to those who had already donated. Thank you so much. And feel free to support that organization. They're really great. All right, so we're gonna dive into today's dish. So today we're gonna be making a garden salad, and I called it a garden salad because what's awesome is I'm actually gonna use a lot of things that I grew in my garden. So because it's summer and this is kind of peak growing season up in the Pacific Northwest, I have a lot of stuff that came up and is coming up in my garden is perfect for a salad. So that's what I'm gonna use today. Some stuff won't be from my garden, but I'll kind of highlight what is and what isn't. First, though, we're going to start with a really easy homemade vinaigrette recipe. It's really delicious. And the reason I'm going to start with it is because I like making it first and kind of letting some of the ingredients really sit together and marinate while I make the rest of the salad because it just adds the potency of the flavor. So we are going to start with the vinaigrette. So I'm going to start with some red onion. And we're going to take about 1/4 of a red onion, small red onion, and chop it up really fine. And I also want to give out a shout out to my partner, my life partner, my fiance. This is his recipe, his vinaigrette recipe. So I'll give him credit where credit is due. So because we're making a dressing, you do want to make sure to get the onion chopped really fine so you're not getting big chunks of onion in your mouth. And then also it spreads out much better. So my understanding of a vinaigrette is you only really need 2 things in a dressing to make it a vinaigrette, and that is some vinegar and some oil. And so today we're going to be using balsamic vinegar, and we're going to be using olive oil. And if we just use that, we'd have a vinaigrette. But to make it a little bit more spruced up, we're going to add some other things. All right, so we got our onion all chopped up. Just extra chop it a little bit finer. And then I like making salad dressing straight into a ball jar instead of into a bowl because then I can just put this in the fridge, and any of the vinaigrette that I don't use or any of the dressing I don't use, I can just store it in this. And this recipe is definitely more than the vinaigrette recipe is definitely more than I'll need for my salad today. So then I can just put a lid on this and stick it in the fridge. I'm going to add all of these. then next is we're going to put 2 cloves of garlic. Use a garlic press to get it in. You can also chop it up really fine too if you want. Squeeze it right into the jar. And then next we're going to do half a teaspoon of black pepper and half a teaspoon of salt. And then 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. That's really the trick to this one, is that it's really delicious with the Italian seasoning. I think it's 2 tablespoons. We're going to check real quick because I don't want to overdo it. Yes. Great. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. And the maple syrup is really just to bring some balance to the vinegar. I find that when you use the citrus and maple syrup together, it's really, really delicious. And then we're going to do 1/3 cup of balsamic vinegar. Carefully pour that in. And then now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to put the oil in. And I'm just going to let this sit and marinate all together. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. But I'm really going to let the onion and the salt and the pepper and the spices really open up together before I add the oil. Alright, great. And we're just going to set that to the side until we're ready for it. So next is pretty simple. You're just going to chop all the pieces to your salad, throw them in a bowl. And so today I have some lettuce. I am growing lettuce in my garden, but this is not from my garden. I just had some sitting around that needed to get used. So I'm going to chop this up and throw it in my bowl. And then I have some kale, which is from my garden. Sorry, not that. I have some kale, but it is from my garden. So I'm going to use some of that. I find that using baby kale, if you're buying it in the store, is a little bit nicer for salads. It's a little less bitter. It's kind of more tender. But I think kale is really great for salads, even if you're not using the baby kale. One thing that is nice is chopping it up a little bit finer, so you don't have such big pieces, depending on the density of your kale, because kale can get really intense if it's on the more dense side. All right, so now we have our base of greens for our salad. And then now we're gonna add in some toppings. So I have some green beans that I grew that are growing in my garden, so I'm gonna use these. One thing you can do with green beans, these happen to be really good raw, but if you find that raw green beans are a little too intense or too crunchy, you can blanch them really quickly. And blanching is when you boil water and then you let things rest in them for just about 30 seconds. And you don't want to go much longer than 30 seconds because then it actually cooks them. The blanching process kind of just cooks the outside, makes it a little bit more tender without cooking it, and then you can let it cool and then add it to a salad. Also, too, if you're freezing your own vegetables, that's a great way to do it. So, like the other day, there was broccoli on sale, so I bought a bunch of broccoli, and I decided to make my own frozen vegetables instead of buying them just because it was on sale. And so you can chop your veggies up, blanch them real quickly, and then freeze them. And that's a great way to make your own frozen veggies. So for easy veggies later in the week. A little meal prepping tip. All right, so we got some green beans in there. And then next I'm gonna do some tomatoes. I'm gonna do 2 different types of tomatoes because I have them. So I'm growing some beautiful heirloom tomatoes and then some yellow cherries. So I'm gonna throw both in. Anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them. Tomatoes are really awesome because they have this antioxidant in them called lycopene. And lycopene is really good, especially for men's health. But it also has a lot of anti-cancer properties. It's really good phytonutrients. All right, so we got tomatoes in there. And the great thing is about salads is you can make them as big or as small as you want. So I'm just making dinner for myself, so I'm going to make just a small, like personal sized dinner salad. But this is great if you want to make one for a party. You can just make a massive bowl and really modify it to the size that you need. So next that I'm going to throw in is beet. I also grew this, so I'm really excited. This is the first beet I'm going to eat from my garden this year. Very excited. When I throw beets in salads, I really like to, especially if I'm doing it raw, I like to shred them because it leaves smaller, easier pieces to eat. So you just take a cheese grater and shred it. Be careful with beets because they will stain everything. Another way you can add beets to a salad is to roast them ahead of time and then let them cool or add them hot. Roasted beets in salad is really good too. If you cut thin slices and do beet slivers, that's really good as well. Beets are really good for you. All right, so I'm gonna throw that all on top. And I'm gonna go rinse my hands real quick so I don't get pink hands. All right, so that wraps up all of the ingredients from my garden. And now I'm going to add some microgreens or some sprout mix that I got at the store. Sprouts are awesome. They're loaded with nutrients. And then we're going to add our protein. So I have a baked tofu that I think is great, just straight up. Doesn't need to be cooked, can be used raw. It's already kind of cooked and before it's packaged. So I really like using this because it's really easy. I can just go to the store, pick this up, crumble it on top of something, and it's good to go. Other good toppings are chickpeas. You can just can chickpeas. You can spice them up too. I've made that in another recipe, so you can look at some of my other recipes to look for spiced chickpea recipes. Grilled chicken, fish, shrimp, all of that are really good proteins to throw on top of a salad. And then I just like to, you can cut it into pieces, but I just like to sprinkle it on top. And there we go, we got our protein. And then last but not least, I'm going to throw some avocado on, because you can take the girl out of California, but you can't take California out of the girl. All right, so now that we have our salad all prepared, we can finish off our salad dressing. So now we're going to take our jar that's been marinating with all the herbs and onion and garlic. And the last thing we're going to do is just add a cup of olive oil. Now, another reason I like doing this in a jar is because there's measurements on here, so I don't even need to use another measuring cup. I can just say, oh, I need to go to here to get a cup of oil. I'll pretty much just finish off on the oil. Great. And then you put the lid on and then shake it up. And then the last part is just to add some dressing to our salad. And you can base this off however much dressing you want. Some people like light dressing, some people like heavy dressing. I like somewhere in the middle, so I do about 2 or 3 scoops. Get a little bit more oil on top. All right, and then we're just gonna toss it up and then enjoy. Now Tossing a salad, I think, is the hardest part of making a salad because oftentimes when you do it, all the stuff ends up on the bottom. But do your best, and then you just keep tossing it and try to pull from the bottom and put it up the top. All right, and there you have it. We have a beautiful garden salad that we've created with our own homemade dressing, and all of this was under 20 minutes. So it's a really awesome, quick meal to create if you're on the go, and also if it's warm out and you don't want to cook. Some people feel like just vegetables and protein isn't filling enough, and so you can add, if you really want to just beef it up a little bit, you could add some quinoa or some rice to add a little bit of starch to make it a little bit heavier and more dense. But if you're looking for a light meal, this is a really awesome go-to, and it's really quick and easy for when you're on the go. So thank you all for joining me today. I know it's going to be a quick video, but that was kind of the point, was to show you a super quick meal. Thank you to those who have donated. Again, today's video is being dedicated to the D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services organization, and especially in these times of COVID when people are really being stressed out and having some strains on their mental health. Organizations like this are so monumental in providing support for the community at large. If you are or a loved one are experiencing any mental health issues, please look them up. They have crisis lines. They have links to national suicide prevention lines, and utilize their services because they're there for you. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.